Welcome to Story Tales. Please like this video and subscribe to Story Tales. I hope you enjoy the story. Let's begin.
The smell of garlic and rosemary filled Mara Lindell's small Phoenix condo as she pulled the roasted chicken from the oven. Steam rose from the golden skin, and she set it on the granite counter with practiced precision. 34 years old, and every dollar in her savings account earned through 12-hour shifts in the ICU. Mara took pride in these small moments of comfort she could afford. "Mom, the chicken looks perfect," she called to her mother, Eleanor, who sat at the dining table arranging the wildflowers Mara had picked up from the grocery store. Tonight was Eleanor's 62nd birthday, and Mara had insisted on hosting despite her mother's protests about the expense. "You work too hard, honey," Eleanor said, her weathered hands smoothing the tablecloth. "You should be out having fun, not cooking for your old mother." "This is fun for me." Mara wiped her hands on her apron and glanced at the clock. "Where are Caleb and Lila? They're 20 minutes late." As if summoned by her words, the front door burst open. Caleb's voice boomed through the entryway, carrying the particular brand of false enthusiasm he used when he wanted something. "Sorry we're late, birthday girl." Caleb swept into the dining room, his arms loaded with expensive-looking gift bags. At 30, he still carried himself like the high school quarterback he'd once been, all swagger and charming grins. Behind him, Lila click-clacked across the hardwood in stilettos that probably cost more than Mara's monthly car payment. "Traffic was insane," Lila announced, though Mara noticed she didn't look particularly stressed about it. Her blonde hair fell in perfect waves around her shoulders, and her makeup looked fresh enough for another photo shoot. Everything about Lila screamed lifestyle coach, from her designer athleisure wear to the way she positioned herself for the best lighting. "No worries," Mara said, forcing a smile. "Perfect timing, actually. I just pulled the chicken out." Eleanor stood to embrace her son, her face lighting up. "Oh, Caleb. You didn't have to bring anything." "Course I did, Mom. It's your birthday." Caleb set the bags on the side table with theatrical flair. "Wait until you see what we got you." Lila found this amazing boutique that sources directly from artisans in Tuscany. Mara raised an eyebrow. Caleb worked part-time at a sporting goods store, and Lila's coaching business seemed to consist mainly of posting inspirational quotes over pictures of her morning coffee. She wondered how they'd afforded Tuscan anything, but kept the thought to herself. "Let me help you in the kitchen," Lila offered, though she made no move toward the kitchen. "I've got it handled," Mara replied. "Why don't you both sit down? I'll bring everything out." She retreated to the kitchen, grateful for a moment alone. The apartment felt smaller whenever Caleb and Lila visited, their energy filling every corner with a kind of restless ambition that made Mara's simple life feel inadequate by comparison. As she carved the chicken, she could hear them chatting with their mother about Lila's latest business venture, something involving essential oils and social media influencing. Mara focused on making clean, even slices, the same methodical approach she brought to everything in her life. "Mara works so hard," she heard her mother saying. 16 years as a nurse, and she's saved up enough to buy a house soon. Mara paused, knife in hand. She'd mentioned the house fund to her mother in confidence, not expecting it to become dinner conversation. "That's amazing," Lila's voice carried clearly from the dining room. "Real estate in Phoenix is so hot right now. You must have quite a bit saved up." "Mara's always been good with money," Caleb added. "Remember when we were kids, Mom? She'd save every penny from her allowance, while I spent mine on baseball cards." Something in his tone made Mara uneasy, but she shook it off. She loaded the serving platter with vegetables and carried it to the dining room, where Caleb was already opening a bottle of wine he'd brought. "This is incredible, honey," Eleanor said as Mara set down the platter. "You've outdone yourself." "It's just chicken and vegetables, Mom." "Don't be modest," Lila said, already posing with her wine glass for what Mara assumed would become an Instagram story. This is like restaurant quality. You should totally start a catering business. I could help you with the social media strategy. Mara took her seat across from her brother. I think I'll stick with nursing. But think about the potential, Lila continued undeterred. Food blogs are huge right now. You could build a whole brand around comfort food and family recipes. Speaking of brands, Caleb interjected, refilling his wine glass. Lila just landed this major collaboration with a wellness retreat in Dubai. Tell them about it, babe. Lila's eyes lit up. It's incredible. They want me to document the whole experience, the spa treatments, the meditation sessions, the five-star dining. It's exactly the kind of content my followers are craving. Sounds expensive, Mara said carefully. Well, that's the beauty of it, Caleb said. It's an investment in Lila's business. You have to spend money to make money, right? Mara noticed he didn't mention how they planned to finance this investment, but she bit her tongue. Her brother's financial decisions were his own business. Even when they made no sense, they ate in relative peace for a while, Eleanor asking about Mara's work and sharing gossip from her book club. Caleb regaled them with stories from the sporting goods store, embellishing his interactions with customers until they sounded like comedy sketches. Lila took photos of her plate from multiple angles. After dinner, Mara began clearing the table while Eleanor opened her gifts. The Tuscan pottery was beautiful, she had to admit, though she couldn't imagine how Caleb and Lila had afforded it. I need to grab something from the car, Caleb announced, standing abruptly. I'll come with you, Lila said quickly. I want to check my ring light setup for tomorrow's content. Mara continued stacking plates, only half listening as they headed toward the front door. But something about their hushed voices made her pause, hands full of dirty dishes. Relax, she heard Caleb whisper, though he was trying to be quiet. Mara's paying for everything. The first-class flights, the Dubai resort, it's all covered. Mara's hands stilled on the plates. Told you she'd come through. Lila's voice giggled back, barely audible. The plates slipped from Mara's hands, but she caught them before they could crash to the floor. Her heart hammered against her ribs as the words sank in. She hadn't agreed to pay for anything. She hadn't even known about their Dubai trip until tonight. Everything okay in there? Eleanor called from the living room. Fine, Mom, Mara managed, though her voice sounded strange even to her own ears. Just cleaning up. She stood frozen in the dining room, holding the plates like a shield. Through the window, she could see Caleb and Lila by his truck, their heads bent together in conversation. Even from a distance, their body language looked conspiratorial. When they returned a few minutes later, both were smiling too brightly. Sorry about that, Caleb said. Had to grab Lila's charger. You know how it is with these influencers, always documenting everything. Always working, Lila agreed with a laugh that sounded forced. Mara nodded absently, her mind racing. She finished clearing the table mechanically, participating in conversation when required, but unable to focus on anything except those whispered words by the door. The rest of the evening passed in a blur. Eleanor thanked everyone profusely for the lovely dinner and beautiful gifts. Caleb and Lila promised to visit again soon, maybe after their business trip to Dubai. They hugged goodbye with the same enthusiasm they'd brought to their arrival. Love you, sis, Caleb said, squeezing Mara tight. Thanks for hosting. You're the best. The words felt like sand in her mouth as she responded automatically. Love you too. After they left, Mara helped her mother to the car, her movements mechanical. Eleanor chatted about what a lovely evening it had been, how proud she was of both her children, how nice it was that they all got along so well. Caleb seems to be doing better lately, Eleanor observed as Mara walked her to the passenger side. More confident, and Lila's business appears to be taking off. Appears to be, Mara repeated quietly. She kissed her mother goodbye and watched the taillights disappear down the street. Only then did she allow herself to feel the full weight of what she'd overheard. Back inside her condo, the silence felt oppressive. She loaded the dishwasher with jerky movements, her mind churning through possibilities. Maybe she'd misheard. Maybe they were talking about some other arrangement, some loan or gift she'd forgotten agreeing to. But deep in her gut, she knew better. The way they'd lowered their voices, the timing of their whispered conversation right after discussing Dubai, it all pointed to something she didn't want to believe. Mara dried her hands on the dish towel and walked to her laptop on the kitchen counter. Her online banking bookmark was right where she'd left it, and she clicked it with trembling fingers as she'd check her account balance, put her fears to rest, and feel foolish for ever doubting her brother. That's what she told herself as she entered her login credentials. That's what she told herself until the numbers loaded on the screen. Mara stared at the screen until the numbers blurred. She blinked hard and looked again, but they remained the same. $47, 281.73 to yesterday. Before Caleb and Lila's visit, her savings account balance had read $85,528.89. She knew this because she checked it every night before bed, a ritual that had become as automatic as brushing her teeth. 16 years of nursing, 16 years of carefully saved overtime pay and skipped vacations, gone in a single transaction. Her hands shook as she clicked on the transaction history. There it was, time-stamped at 2:47 p.m. that afternoon, while she'd been at work, pulling a double shift in the ICU. A wire transfer for $38,247.16 to an account number she'd never seen before, labeled simply as external transfer authorized. But she hadn't authorized anything. Mara grabbed her phone and scrolled through her messages, looking for any confirmation texts or emails she might have missed. Nothing. She checked her email, her voicemail, even her spam folder. Not a single notification about the transfer, the money she'd planned to use for a house down payment gone. The security she'd built dollar by dollar through countless night shifts and double overtime wiped out in an afternoon while she'd been saving someone else's life. Her fingers moved automatically to Caleb's contact, typing and deleting messages she couldn't bring herself to send. What was she supposed to say? Did you steal my money? Are you the reason I'm sitting here at midnight staring at my empty savings account? Finally, she settled on something simple. Call me. Now. She hit send and waited. The message showed as delivered, then read, but no response came. 5 minutes passed, then 10. Mara paced from the kitchen to the living room and back again, her phone clutched in her hand like a lifeline. T:12:43 a.m. She tried calling. The phone rang 4 times before going to voicemail. Hey, this is Caleb. Can't get to the phone right now, but leave me a message and I'll get back to you. The same cheerful recording he'd had for years, back when his biggest worry was whether he'd make varsity baseball, before mortgages and marriage and whatever desperation had driven him to this. Caleb, it's Mara, she said after the beep. I need you to call me back immediately. There's been some kind of mistake with my bank account, and I need to figure out what happened. Call me tonight, no matter how late. She ended the call and immediately tried again. This time it went straight to voicemail. He'd turned off his phone. Mara sank onto her couch, still staring at the banking website on her laptop screen. The wire transfer had gone to something called Meridian Financial Services, with an account number that meant nothing to her. She tried Googling the name, but found only generic financial services companies, none of them obviously connected to Dubai or travel booking. Sleep was impossible. She made coffee at 2 a.m. and sat at her kitchen table with her laptop, going through every bank statement from the past 6 months, looking for patterns, for clues, for anything that might explain how someone had gained access to her account. Her savings account required a physical token for large transfers, a little device that generated random codes. She kept it in the same drawer as her passport and birth certificate, documents too important to leave lying around. The drawer was locked, and she was the only one with the key, except that Mara's blood turned cold as the memory surfaced. 3 weeks ago, Caleb had borrowed her car while his truck was in the shop. She'd given him her keys, including the small key to her filing cabinet where she kept important documents. He'd had access to her apartment for the entire day. She'd trusted him completely. Never questioned why he'd taken so long to return the car, why he'd seemed nervous when he handed back her keys. She'd been grateful he was being responsible, getting his truck fixed instead of driving around with a busted transmission. The coffee turned bitter in her mouth. T6 a.m. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Your wire transfer of $38,247.16 has been processed successfully. Meridian Financial Services thanks you for your business. Mara screamed. The sound tore from her throat without warning, a primal expression of rage and betrayal that echoed off the walls of her quiet condo. Her neighbors would think she was being murdered, and maybe she was. Maybe this was what it felt like to have your trust carved out with a knife. She called her bank as soon as they opened at 8 a.m. First National, this is Jennifer. How can I help you? Someone stole money from my account, Mara said without preamble. $38,000. I need it reversed immediately. I'm sorry to hear that, ma'am. Can you provide me with your account number and the last 4 digits of your social security number? Mara rattled off the information, her free hand gripping the kitchen counter so hard her knuckles went white. I see the transaction you're referring to, Jennifer said after a moment. It shows as an authorized wire transfer using your security token. The request came through our secure online portal yesterday at 2:47 p.m. I didn't authorize it. I was at work. I'm a nurse. I was in surgery with a patient. There are witnesses. I understand this is frustrating, Mrs. Lindell. Let me transfer you to our fraud department. They'll be able to open an investigation. 20 minutes and 3 transfers later, Mara was explaining the situation to a fraud specialist named Robert, who sounded like he'd heard this story 1,000 times before. The challenge we're facing, Robert explained in the patient tone of someone who delivered bad news professionally, is that the transfer was initiated using your legitimate security token and login credentials. Our system shows multiple successful authentications using information that only you should have access to. Someone stole my token, Mara said. My brother had access to my apartment 3 weeks ago. He could have copied the token or figured out my passwords. Do you have any evidence that your brother was involved? Mara thought about the whispered conversation she'd overheard, about Caleb's sudden confidence in expensive gifts and Dubai vacations. He's planning a trip to Dubai, the exact kind of trip this money would pay for. That's circumstantial, Mrs. Lindell. To reverse a wire transfer, we need concrete proof of unauthorized access. Has your brother admitted to taking the money? I haven't been able to reach him. I'd recommend filing a police report and gathering any evidence you can. In the meantime, I'm placing a fraud alert on your account and issuing you a new security token. But I have to be honest with you, wire transfers are very difficult to reverse once they've been processed. Mara wanted to reach through the phone and shake him. This is my life savings. 16 years of work. You're telling me it's just gone. I'm saying we need more evidence to prove unauthorized access. The transfer appears legitimate from a technical standpoint. After she hung up, Mara sat in her silent kitchen and tried to process what Robert had told her. The bank wouldn't help without proof. The police would want evidence she didn't have. And Caleb had turned off his phone, probably knowing exactly what she'd discovered. Her brother had stolen from her using information he'd gained through her trust. He'd planned it carefully, waiting weeks after copying her security token to avoid suspicion. And now he was unreachable, probably already booking flights to Dubai with money he'd stolen from her dreams. The betrayal cut deeper than the financial loss, though the money hurt plenty. This was her brother, the person she'd protected and supported their entire lives. When he'd dropped out of college, she'd helped him find work. When he'd gotten married without a stable income, She'd bitten her tongue and wished him well. When he'd needed co-signing for his truck loan, she'd signed without hesitation. And this was how he repaid her. Mara closed her laptop and walked to her bedroom. She had to work another double shift today, had to smile at patients and families while her own world crumbled. But first, she was going to drive to Caleb's house and get some answers. Whether he wanted to give them or not, Caleb's neighborhood looked different in the harsh morning light. The houses were newer than Mara's, with manicured lawns and two-car garages that suggested a prosperity she now understood was built on lies. She pulled into his driveway behind a brand-new patio, set still in its packaging, the price tag visible through the plastic wrap. $2, $8.47 that Amazon boxes littered the front porch, like confetti after a celebration she hadn't been invited to. Mara recognized the logos Williams-Sonoma, Pottery Barn, West Elm, stores where she window shopped but rarely bought anything, because she was too busy saving every dollar for her future. Her future that Caleb had stolen. She didn't bother knocking. The front door was unlocked, typical of her brother's casual approach to security. The smell of expensive coffee and bacon hit her as she walked into the entryway. "Caleb!" she called, her voice echoing off the vaulted ceilings. "I know you're here. Your truck's in the garage." Footsteps approached from the kitchen, and Caleb appeared in the archway wearing a silk bathrobe that probably cost more than Mara's weekly groceries. His hair was messy from sleep, but his eyes were alert. "Guilty." "Mara," he said, trying for his usual charm. "What are you doing here so early? Don't you have work?" "We need to talk. Now." "Okay, sure. Want some coffee? Lila just made a fresh pot. It's this amazing Colombian blend we discovered at... Where's my money, Caleb?" The question stopped him mid-sentence. His practiced smile faltered, and for a moment she saw something real in his expression. Fear, maybe, or relief that the pretending was over. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, but the words came out too fast. $38,000. Wire transferred yesterday from my savings account. Want to try again?" Caleb's face went through several emotions before settling on defensive irritation. "Look, Mara, I can explain. You can explain how you got into my apartment and stole my security token? You can explain how you accessed my bank account and emptied my house fund? Please, I'm dying to hear this explanation. Baby, what's going on?" Lila's voice drifted from upstairs, followed by the sound of bare feet on hardwood. She appeared at the top of the stairs wearing a matching silk robe, her hair in a messy bun that probably took 20 minutes to perfect. "Oh, hi, Mara. You're here early." "Tell her, Caleb," Mara said, not taking her eyes off her brother. "Tell your wife how you stole my life savings." Lila's expression shifted from sleepy confusion to sharp alertness. She glided down the stairs with the grace of someone accustomed to being watched, positioning herself slightly behind Caleb in a show of unity. "I think there's been some kind of misunderstanding," Lila said carefully. "No misunderstanding," Mara replied. "Your husband stole $38,000 from my bank account. Money I saved to buy a house. Money that's now apparently funding your Dubai vacation." Caleb ran his hands through his hair, a nervous gesture she remembered from childhood. "Okay, look. Yes, I borrowed some money from you, but it's not stealing, we're family. And you've got plenty, Mara. It's not like you were using it right now." The casual dismissal of her financial violation hit Mara like a physical blow. "Borrowed? You call breaking into my account and stealing my money borrowing?" "I didn't break into anything," Caleb said, his voice rising. "I had access to your stuff when I borrowed your car, and technically, all I did was move money around. We'll pay you back when we can." "When you can? With what money? You work part-time at a sporting goods store, and Lila sells essential oils on Instagram." "My business is more than that," Lila interjected, her voice sharp with offense. "I'm building a brand, creating authentic content that helps people transform their lives." "With my money," Mara said flatly. Think of it as helping family, Lila continued, her tone shifting to something that might have been meant as soothing. You know, good karma. What goes around comes around. Mara stared at her sister-in-law, this woman who posted daily affirmations about gratitude and abundance while wearing clothes that cost more than most people's rent. The audacity was breathtaking. Good karma. Mara repeated slowly. You think stealing from family creates good karma. It's not stealing, Caleb said again, but he wouldn't meet her eyes. It's an investment in Lila's career, in our future. When her business takes off, we'll be able to pay you back with interest. And what if it doesn't take off? What if your Dubai vacation doesn't transform Lila into the next big lifestyle influencer? What happens to my money then? Caleb shrugged, and that casual gesture broke something inside Mara's chest. You'll be fine. You always land on your feet. I land on my feet because I work for everything I have. Because I save money instead of spending it on things I can't afford. Because I don't steal from my family when I want something I haven't earned. Oh, please, Lila said, rolling her eyes. Don't act like you're some kind of saint. You've always looked down on us, on our dreams. Like your job is so much more important than building a business. My job pays the bills. My job creates value. My job saves lives. And my job inspires people, Lila shot back. I help women find their authentic selves and create the lives they deserve. By scamming them into buying overpriced oils. By showing them that abundance is a mindset. Mara wanted to laugh, but she was afraid if she started, she might never stop. Abundance is a mindset? Is that what you told yourself when you were planning to steal my money? That you deserved it because you're abundant? We're not thieves, Caleb said, finally looking directly at her. We're family, and family helps each other out. Family asks for help. Family doesn't sneak around and steal security tokens and empty bank accounts. Family doesn't lie about Dubai vacations being paid for by money they stole. Caleb's jaw tightened. I heard Mom talking about your house fund. $85,000 just sitting in a savings account, earning nothing. You're not even house hunting yet. What's the difference if we use some of it now and pay you back later? The difference is that it's my money. I earned it. I saved it. And you had no right to take it. Right. Lila stepped forward, her eyes bright with anger. You want to talk about rights? What about our right to pursue our dreams? What about our right to build something meaningful instead of just hoarding money like some kind of dragon? Mara looked at this woman who had inserted herself into their family 2 years ago and somehow convinced Caleb that his sister's life savings was community property. You have the right to pursue your dreams with your own money. We don't have money, Caleb said simply. Not the kind we need for this opportunity. But you do, and we'll pay you back. With what? When? When Lila's business takes off. When we start making real money. And if that never happens... Caleb was quiet for a long moment. Then he shrugged again. Then I guess we'll figure something else out. The casual cruelty of it took Mara's breath away. He'd stolen her future and reduced it to something he'd figure out if his get-rich-quick scheme failed. As if 16 years of her life could be dismissed with a shrug. You know what, Caleb, she said quietly. You're going to regret this. Something in her tone must have penetrated his defensive wall, because his expression shifted. Mara, come on. Don't be like that. We're family. No, she said, already turning toward the door. Family doesn't do what you did. Family doesn't steal and lie and justify it with talk about dreams and karma. Where are you going? Lila called after her. Mara paused in the doorway and looked back at them, her brother in his expensive robe, surrounded by boxes of things he'd bought with money he'd stolen from her dreams, and his wife who thought abundance was a mindset instead of something you built through years of sacrifice. I'm going to work, she said, like I do every day, while I figure out how to get my money back from the 2 people who were supposed to love me most. She walked out without waiting for their response. Past the expensive patio furniture and Amazon boxes. Past the perfectly manicured lawn that represented a lifestyle funded by theft. Her hands shook as she started her car, but her mind was crystal clear. Caleb had made his choice. Now she would make hers, and unlike her brother, she wasn't going to regret what came next. Mara's phone buzzed insistently during her lunch break 3 days later. She was sitting in the hospital cafeteria, picking at a wilted salad while running through her legal options on a yellow legal pad. The police report had been filed, but Detective Morrison had been honest about their chances. Financial crimes between family members were notoriously difficult to prosecute, especially when the perpetrator had legitimate access to the victim's information. The first notification was from Instagram, alerting her that Caleb had tagged her in a story. She almost deleted it without looking, but something made her tap the screen. The image showed Caleb and Lila at what appeared to be a luggage store, surrounded by matching Samsonite suitcases. Lila posed with her arms spread wide, her smile brilliant under the store's fluorescent lights. The caption read, "When the universe aligns to make your dreams come true. Dubai, here we come. Hashtag blessed, hashtag manifestation, hashtag abundance mindset, hashtag living my best life." Mara's salad fork clattered against her plastic tray. She scrolled through Lila's profile, each post a fresh knife twist. Photos of spa appointment confirmations, screenshots of flight booking websites, pictures of expensive skincare products with captions about preparing for the desert sun. The timeline told the story. They'd been planning this trip for weeks, long before they'd stolen her money. But it was Lila's most recent post that made Mara's vision go white around the edges. The image showed a manicured hand holding a champagne flute against the backdrop of what looked like a travel agency office. The champagne caught the light perfectly, creating an Instagram-worthy sparkle that probably took dozens of shots to achieve. The caption that accompanied it was clearly aimed at someone specific. "To those who doubted us, watch us fly. Sometimes you have to take bold action to create the life you deserve." Some people will never understand the mindset of true abundance, and that's okay. We'll send postcards from paradise. Hashtag no regrets, hashtag abundant life, hashtag Hattersconahate, hashtag first class, hashtag Dubai. 2025 The post had 37 likes and a string of comments from Lila's followers. All variations of "you go girl" and "living for this energy." But Mara could read between the lines. This wasn't just a travel announcement, it was a public humiliation designed specifically for her. Her phone rang. Caleb's name appeared on the screen. "What do you want?" she answered. "Mara, hey." His voice carried that fake casual tone he used when he was nervous. "Did you see Lila's post? I told her it might come across the wrong way, but you know how she is about her brand." "Her brand? Is that what we're calling theft now?" "Come on, don't be like that. Look, I called because I wanted to give you a heads up. We're leaving for Dubai tomorrow night. I know you're upset about the money thing, but..." "The money thing?" Mara's voice rose enough that other nurses at nearby tables turned to look. She lowered it to a whisper that somehow sounded more dangerous. "You stole my life savings, and you're calling it the money thing." "I borrowed it, and will pay you back." "When? Give me a specific date." Caleb was quiet for a moment. "I don't know exactly when, but we will." "You don't know because you never intended to pay me back. This was always theft, Caleb. You just wanted to convince yourself otherwise." "That's not true. Look, we got this amazing deal on the resort, but we had to book everything at once. If we'd waited to save up the money ourselves, the opportunity would have been gone. So you decided to steal mine instead. I decided to ask my sister for help. You just weren't in a position to say yes, so I made an executive decision." The audacity was breathtaking. An executive decision? About my money. About our family. About helping each other out when we need it. I never needed your help stealing my own money, Caleb. She could hear him take a deep breath, probably counting to 10 the way their mother had taught them when they were children. "Okay, you know what? You're clearly not ready to have a rational conversation about this. But I want you to know that we're not the bad guys here. We saw an opportunity to better our lives and we took it. That's what successful people do. Successful people don't steal from their families. Successful people don't hoard money while their relatives struggle. The line went dead. Mara stared at her phone, unable to believe what she'd just heard. In Caleb's mind, she was the villain in this story. She was the selfish sister who hoarded money while he and Lila struggled to manifest their abundant lifestyle. Her 16 years of careful saving weren't discipline and sacrifice, they were greed. She opened Instagram again and watched Lila's champagne video on repeat. The timing was intentional, posted just minutes before Caleb's call. They'd planned this together, the post and the phone call, designed to twist the knife of her betrayal. But as Mara watched Lila's perfectly manicured fingers hold that champagne glass, something cold and calculating settled in her chest. They wanted to play games. They wanted to humiliate her publicly while spending her money on their dream vacation. She could play games too. Mara opened her contacts and scrolled to a name she hadn't called in months. Shane Vickers, her childhood friend who'd moved to Dubai 5 years ago to manage luxury hotel operations. The same Shane who'd tried to convince her to visit him for years, promising to show her the best the city had to offer. Mara. Shane's voice was surprised when he answered. This is unexpected. How are you? I've been better, she said honestly. Shane, I need a favor. A big one. Name it. I need information about a resort in Dubai. My brother and his wife are traveling there, and I have reason to believe they're using my money to pay for it. Shane's voice sharpened with interest. Your money? What kind of money are we talking about? $38,000. Stolen from my savings account. Jesus, Mara. Are you serious? Dead serious. They're flying out tomorrow night, and I need to know everything about their reservations. Hotel, flights, activities, everything. What's the name of the resort? Mara scrolled back through Lila's Instagram posts until she found the booking confirmation screenshot. The Meridian Palace. Do you know it? Shane laughed, but there was no humor in it. Know it? I helped design their reservation system 3 years ago. Still have contacts there. What do you need? Everything you can find. And Shane, I might need more help than just information. Whatever you need. These people stole from you. They deserve whatever's coming. After hanging up with Shane, Mara made one more call. Cassidy Rowe. Cassidy, it's Mara. I need help with something that might be borderline illegal. Her cousin's laugh was sharp and delighted. Cassidy had always been the family rebel, the one who bent rules until they snapped. Now you're speaking my language. What did someone do to you? Caleb stole my house fund and is using it to fly first class to Dubai with his wife. That little shit. What do you need? You work in airline operations. Can you access flight records? Can I access them? Honey, I practically live in those systems. Give me names and dates. As Mara provided the details, she felt something she hadn't experienced since discovering the theft. Control. For the first time in days, she wasn't reacting to Caleb and Lila's manipulations. She was planning her own moves. Her phone buzzed with another Instagram notification. Lila had posted a new story, a screenshot of what appeared to be a first-class boarding pass confirmation, with the caption, last-minute upgrade because YOLO. Hashtag first class, hashtag living the dream, hashtag never apologize. Mara smiled for the first time in 3 days. It wasn't a pleasant expression. Let them post. Let them celebrate. Let them believe they'd won. They had no idea what was coming. Shane called back within 2 hours, his voice tight with barely controlled anger. Mara, your brother and his wife are even bigger pieces of shit than you thought. She was in the hospital parking lot, finally off her double shift, sitting in her car with the windows down to catch the desert breeze. What did you find? The resort booking is in flux. They put down a deposit 3 weeks ago, $2,500, but the remaining balance hasn't been paid. The hotel has been sending payment reminders for the past week. How much is the remaining balance? $35,747.16. Mara's stomach dropped. That's almost exactly what they stole from me. Gets better. I talked to my contact in reservations. The booking is under Caleb's name, but it's listed as a family vacation, with a note that the primary payment source is from a family sponsor. They literally told the hotel that someone else was paying for their vacation. Can the hotel cancel the reservation? Not without cause. But here's the interesting part: the final payment is due 48 hours before check-in. If they don't pay by Wednesday morning Dubai time, the reservation automatically cancels. Mara's mind started working through the timeline. When do they fly out? Tomorrow night. They land Wednesday afternoon. So, if the payment isn't made, they arrive at the hotel to find no reservation and no room. In Dubai, during peak season, finding alternative accommodations would be nearly impossible and extremely expensive. Shane, are you suggesting what I think you're suggesting? I'm suggesting that if someone were to pay that remaining balance before your brother could, but put the reservation under their own name instead, well, hotels don't allow duplicate bookings for the same dates. Mara felt a smile tugging at the corners of her mouth. And who would have the authority to change the primary name on a reservation? Someone with management access to the hotel's booking system. Someone who still has contacts in the right departments. Someone who might be very motivated to help a childhood friend get justice. That would be expensive, Shane. $35,000 expensive. Which is money that should have been yours anyway. Besides, wouldn't you rather spend your own money on a luxury vacation than let thieves enjoy it? The plan was elegant in its simplicity. Use her own stolen money to cancel Caleb and Lila's dream vacation by claiming it for herself. They'd arrive in Dubai to find their confirmed reservation had vanished, leaving them stranded in a foreign country with maxed-out credit cards and no way home. There's one more thing, Shane said. I checked with some other contacts. Your brother and his wife booked round-trip flights, but they're on a special promotional fare. Flexible dates, but the return tickets aren't confirmed until 72 hours before departure. Meaning if someone were to cancel those return flights and claim the refund, well, they'd be stuck in Dubai until they could afford new tickets home. Mara's heart started beating faster. How would someone cancel tickets they didn't book? Hypothetically, if someone had access to the confirmation numbers and personal information used to make the booking, and if someone had contacts in airline operations who might be willing to help with a legitimate fraud investigation, after ending the call with Shane, Mara immediately dialed Cassidy. Tell me you have good news, Cassidy answered. I have confirmation numbers and a plan, but I need to know exactly what you can and can't do. Try me. Caleb and Lila have round-trip tickets to Dubai. The return flights aren't locked in yet. If those tickets were to be canceled and refunded, they'd be stranded until they could buy new ones, Cassidy finished, which, during peak season, would cost at least 3 times what they originally paid. Is that something you could make happen? Mara, sweetie, you're talking to someone who once rerouted her ex-boyfriend's bachelor party flight to Omaha instead of Las Vegas. Canceling tickets for someone who stole money from family? That's not even morally questionable. That's public service. But is it legal? If we report suspicious activity on the tickets, say, potential fraud involving stolen funds, the airline has an obligation to investigate. During that investigation, the tickets would be frozen. And if the investigation determines that the tickets were purchased with stolen money, they'd be canceled and refunded to the original payment source, which would be your bank account, the one they stole from. Mara closed her eyes and leaned back against her car seat. The plan was coming together with a precision that scared her. She'd never been vindictive, never been the type to plot elaborate revenge. But then again, she'd never had her life savings stolen by someone she'd trusted completely. Cassidy, there's something else. They've been posting on social media about this trip, bragging about it, making it clear that they think they've gotten away with something. Oh, honey, they made this public. Very public. Lila's Instagram is basically a diary of their preparation, funded by my money. Well, then they won't be able to claim this was a private matter. Social media posts constitute public evidence of their activities. Evidence of what? Evidence that they were knowingly using stolen funds for luxury purchases. Evidence that they showed no remorse or intention to return the money. Evidence that they were, in fact, bragging about their theft. Mara had never heard Cassidy sound so professionally focused. Her cousin might have a reputation as the family wild child, but she took her work seriously. And right now, she sounded like someone who'd found a legitimate reason to use her professional skills for personal justice. How soon can you make this happen? Give me the confirmation numbers, and I can start the process tonight. But Mara, once we do this, there's no going back. They'll know it was you. Good, Mara said, surprising herself with the venom in her voice. I want them to know. After providing Cassidy with all the flight information she gathered from Lila's Instagram posts, Mara sat in her car and tried to process what she was planning. It was elaborate, expensive, and would definitely hurt Caleb and Lila both financially and publicly. IT was also completely justified they'd stolen her money, bragged about it online, and dismissed her pain as jealousy. They'd called her selfish for wanting her own savings back. They'd twisted the narrative until she was the villain in their story of manifest destiny. Well, now she was going to manifest something of her own. Her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Payment confirmation. Wire transfer of $35,747.16 processed successfully. Meridian Palace, Dubai. Reservation confirmed under Mara Lindell. Shane worked fast. 30 minutes later. Another text arrived from Cassidy. Flight cancellation investigation initiated. Tickets frozen pending fraud review. Estimated resolution time 3 to 5 business days. Mara started her car and pulled out of the hospital parking lot. She had one more stop to make before going home, the travel agency downtown. If she was going to Dubai, she was going to do it right. First class, just like Caleb and Lila had planned. The only difference was that she could actually afford it. The travel agent's name was Patricia, and she had the efficient demeanor of someone who'd booked everything from honeymoons to business trips for the past 20 years. Her office walls were covered with postcards from grateful clients, pictures of tropical beaches and European castles and African safaris. Dubai is beautiful this time of year, Patricia said as she pulled up flight options on her computer. You picked a perfect time to visit. Are you traveling alone? Yes, Mara said. Just me. Business or pleasure? Mara thought about it for a moment. Justice. Patricia glanced up with raised eyebrows but didn't comment. Well, Justice travels well in first class. I have several options for you. An hour later, Mara walked out of the travel agency with a first-class ticket to Dubai, departing the day after Caleb and Lila's flight. She'd arrive in time to be settled at the Meridian Palace before they could figure out what had happened to their reservation. Her phone had been buzzing constantly with notifications from Lila's Instagram. The woman was documenting every moment of their pre-departure preparation. Packing videos, makeup tutorials for desert climates, even a time-lapse of her organizing their new luggage. Each post felt like a taunt, a reminder that they were celebrating their theft publicly. The latest post showed Lila and Caleb at the airport, posed in front of the departure board with their arms raised in victory. The caption read, "When your dreams become reality, sometimes you have to take bold action and trust the universe to provide. Hashtag manifestation, hashtag dream vacation, hashtag first class, hashtag living my best life, hashtag Sornatsuri." The hashtag felt deliberate, aimed directly at Mara. Sorry, not sorry for stealing her money. Sorry, not sorry for betraying her trust. Sorry, not sorry for turning her brother against her. Mara screenshotted the post. Evidence for her growing filed a home. She opened her laptop and logged into her banking account. The wire transfer to the Meridian Palace showed as processed, which meant Shane had successfully transferred the reservation to her name. Caleb and Lila would arrive at the hotel tomorrow evening to find their confirmed reservation had vanished. She opened a new browser window and navigated to the Meridian Palace website. The resort was even more luxurious than she'd imagined. Private beaches, multiple pools, spa services that cost more than her monthly grocery budget. She scrolled through photos of suites with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the Persian Gulf, private terraces with infinity pools, restaurants helmed by internationally renowned chefs. It was exactly the kind of place Caleb and Lila would choose for their stolen vacation. Expensive enough to feel exclusive, photogenic enough for maximum Instagram impact. Now it would be hers instead. Mara's phone rang. Shane's name appeared on the screen. "It's done," he said without preamble. "The reservation has been transferred to your name. Your brother and his wife are no longer in the hotel system. What happens when they arrive? They'll be told there's no record of their booking. The front desk will offer to help them find alternative accommodations, but during peak season, that's basically impossible. Every decent hotel in the city is booked solid. And if they try to pay for the original reservation, they can't. It no longer exists. The system shows you as the primary guest with a confirmed, paid-in-full reservation. Even if they had the money, which they can't book the same dates because you're already occupying them." Mara felt a savage satisfaction settle in her chest. "Shane, I owe you dinner for life. You owe me the story. All of it. When you get here, I want to hear exactly how your brother justified stealing from you. I'll bring wine. Bring champagne. The expensive stuff. We're celebrating justice." After hanging up, Mara checked her email. Cassidy had sent a detailed message explaining the flight cancellation process. The tickets have been flagged for investigation due to suspected fraud. The return flights are frozen and cannot be accessed by the original bookers. Investigation timeline is 3 to 5 business days, but could be extended if additional irregularities are discovered. The original payment source, your bank account, will receive the refund once fraud is confirmed. Estimated refund amount, $8,247 for both return tickets. Also found something interesting in their outbound flight records. They upgraded to first class at the last minute using what appears to be a credit card cash advance. They're already overextended financially before they even land. The pieces were falling into place with mechanical precision. Caleb and Lila would land in Dubai tomorrow afternoon, expecting luxury accommodations and confirmed return flights. Instead, they'd find canceled reservations, frozen tickets, and credit cards that were likely already maxed out from their last-minute upgrades. They'd be stranded in one of the world's most expensive cities with no way home and no money to extend their stay. Mara opened Instagram one more time. Lila had posted an update from the plane. A photo of champagne and what looked like first-class amenities, captioned, "Living our best life at 35,000 feet. Sometimes you have to take what's yours and never look back. Hashtag first class, hashtag abundance, hashtag no regrets, hashtag karma." The irony was almost too perfect. That night, Mara packed methodically. She'd never been to Dubai, but she researched like she was preparing for surgery. Appropriate clothing for the climate and culture, high-quality sunscreen, a camera to document her own version of abundance. She even bought a new bikini, something she'd normally consider frivolous. But this trip was funded by money that should have been hers anyway. She folded clothes into her suitcase. Her phone buzzed with a call from her mother. "Hi, Mom." "Mara, honey, I just saw Lila's posts from the airplane. They looked so happy. It's wonderful that Caleb's business is doing well enough for them to take such a nice trip." Mara's jaw tightened. Even now, her mother didn't know the truth. "Mom, there's something I need to tell you about that trip." She explained everything. The theft, the confrontation, the stolen security token, the wire transfer. Her mother listened in silence until Mara finished. "Oh, honey," Eleanor said quietly. "Are you sure? Maybe there was some misunderstanding." "Mom," he admitted it. "He said I had plenty of money and wasn't using it, so he took it." But family helps each other. Maybe he was just trying to ask for help in his own way. The familiar pattern of excuses for Caleb's behavior made Mara's stomach turn. Their mother had been making justifications for her son's poor choices since he was a teenager. "Mom, he stole $38,000 from me. There's no misunderstanding that explains that away. I'm sure he'll pay you back, honey, when his finances improve." His finances will never improve because he doesn't understand the difference between earning money and taking it. And I'm not waiting around to find out. "What do you mean?" Mara looked at her packed suitcase, at the first-class ticket printed and ready on her nightstand. "I mean, I'm going to Dubai tomorrow, to claim the vacation he bought with my money." "Mara, that sounds vindictive." "It sounds like justice." After hanging up, Mara sat on her bed and tried to process her mother's reaction. Even faced with clear evidence of theft, Eleanor was more concerned about family harmony than actual justice. It was the same pattern that had enabled Caleb's behavior their entire lives. No consequences, no accountability, just endless forgiveness and excuses. Well, Mara was done making excuses. She set her alarm for 4 a.m. and tried to sleep, but her mind kept spinning through tomorrow's timeline. By the time she landed in Dubai, Caleb and Lila would already be at the hotel, discovering that their reservation had vanished. They'd be panicking, trying to figure out what had happened, calling credit card companies and travel agents, and probably her. She turned off her phone. She didn't want to hear their panic. She wanted to enjoy her vacation in peace. The first-class cabin of Emirates Flight 231 was everything Mara had imagined luxury travel should be. The seat reclined into a full bed, the champagne was perfectly chilled, and the flight attendants treated her like royalty. For the first time in 16 years, she wasn't thinking about the cost of every small indulgence, because this indulgence was funded by money that should have been hers anyway. She settled into her window seat and watched Phoenix disappear beneath the clouds. Somewhere in the sky ahead of her, Caleb and Lila had made this same journey yesterday, probably congratulating themselves on their cleverness. By now, they'd landed and discovered the first unpleasant surprise of their stolen vacation. The flight attendant offered her another glass of champagne. "Special occasion?" she asked with a professional smile. "You could say that," Mara replied. "I'm going to Dubai to reclaim something that was stolen from me." "How exciting." Justice served at 30,000 feet. Mara raised her glass. "To justice." The 14-hour flight gave her plenty of time to think about what came next. Shane had texted her boarding pass with an update. Caleb and Lila had indeed arrived at the Meridian Palace to find no record of their reservation. The hotel manager had been sympathetic, but firm they had no booking, no room, and no availability for the next 2 weeks. According to Shane's contact in the front office, they'd spent over an hour arguing with various staff members, insisting their reservation was confirmed and threatening legal action. They'd shown printed emails and confirmation numbers, but the hotel system was clear. No booking existed under their names. They'd finally been forced to find alternative accommodations at a budget hotel 30 minutes outside the city center. Shane had helpfully included photos from the hotel's website. A cramped room with 2 twin beds, a window overlooking a parking lot, and a bathroom that had seen better decades at IT was a far cry from the luxury suite with private beach access they'd planned to document for social media. Mara's phone had 17 missed calls and 43 text messages when she turned it on during her layover in Dubai's airport. She scrolled through them, quickly. "Caleb. Mara, call me back immediately, Caleb. Something happened with our hotel reservation, Caleb. I know you did something, Caleb. This is fucking insane, Caleb. We're stuck in some shithole motel because of you, Lila. Your brother is devastated. How could you be so cruel? Lila, we trusted you to be family, Lila. You're going to regret this, Caleb. I'm calling Mom." She needs to know what kind of person you really are, Caleb. Our return flights are canceled too. What did you do? Caleb, we can't get home. We're stranded because of your jealousy, Lila. Karma is real, Mara. What goes around comes around. The messages grew increasingly desperate as the hours passed. The final one, sent just 3 hours ago, was from Caleb. Please, we're sorry. We'll pay you back everything. Just help us get home. Mara deleted the messages without responding and turned her phone off again. The Meridian Palace was even more stunning in person than in photographs. The lobby soared 3 stories high, with marble columns and fountains that created a sense of space and luxury that made Mara feel slightly dizzy. Guests moved through the space in expensive clothing and jewelry, speaking in half a dozen languages, all united by the casual confidence that came with serious money. Ms. Lindell, the front desk manager greeted her with a warm smile. Welcome to the Meridian Palace. We have your suite prepared and ready. Thank you, Mara said, accepting the key card. I understand there was some confusion yesterday with a previous booking? The manager's expression remained professionally neutral. There was an inquiry about a reservation that didn't exist in our system. We were able to assist the guests in finding alternative accommodations. How thoughtful of you. We pride ourselves on customer service, even for non-guests. Shane appeared at her elbow as she turned from the front desk. Mara, you made it. He looked exactly the same as she remembered, tall and athletic, with the easy smile that had made him popular in high school. Success in Dubai's hospitality industry had given him a polished confidence that suited him. Shane, thank you for everything. Are you kidding? This is the most fun I've had at work in years. Come on, let me show you to your suite. The elevator rose smoothly to the 23rd floor, where Shane led her down a marble-lined corridor to a set of double doors. He slid the key card with a flourish. You're home for the next week. The suite was breathtaking. Floor-to-ceiling windows overlooked the Persian Gulf, where the late afternoon sun turned the water to molten gold. The living area was larger than Mara's entire condo, furnished with pieces that belonged in a design magazine. The bedroom featured a king-sized bed draped in Egyptian cotton, and the bathroom had a soaking tub with a view of the Dubai skyline. This is incredible, Mara breathed. Wait until you see the terrace. Shane opened the sliding doors to reveal a private balcony with its own infinity pool. The water seemed to stretch directly into the Gulf, creating the illusion that the ocean began at the edge of her suite. The presidential suite, Shane explained, normally books for $15,000 a night. Your brother and his wife had excellent taste. Too bad they couldn't afford it. About that, Shane said, settling into one of the terrace chairs. I have an update on their situation. Mara poured herself a glass of champagne from the welcome bottle and joined him. I'm listening. They tried to book another flight home this morning. Turns out their credit cards are maxed out, and the cheapest tickets they could find were $8,000 each. They don't have the money, so they're really stuck. Completely. They're at the Oasis Budget Inn, arguing with travel agents and calling family members begging for money. Mara felt a twinge of something that might have been guilt, but she pushed it down. They'd stolen her money and bragged about it publicly. They'd called her selfish and greedy for wanting her own savings back. Whatever hardship they were experiencing now was a direct result of their own choices. Have they tried contacting you again? 17 missed calls today. I haven't answered any of them. Smart. Let them sit with what they've done for a while. They spent the rest of the afternoon on the terrace, catching up on 5 years of friendship while Mara adjusted to the surreal reality of luxury travel. Room service appeared without being summoned, bringing plates of fresh fruit and seafood that looked like works of art. The pool temperature was perfect, the champagne was endless, and the service was so seamless it felt like magic. Everything Caleb and Lila had planned to experience and document for their social media empire. As the sun set over the Gulf, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink that would have made Lila weep with Instagram envy. Mara finally turned her phone back on. She had 47 new messages and missed calls. But she also had a notification from Instagram. Someone had tagged her in a post. The post was from Lila's Instagram account, but the tone was completely different from her usual aspirational content. The image showed what appeared to be a cramped hotel room with 2 narrow beds and a window overlooking a parking lot. The caption was long and angry. When your own family sabotages your dreams out of pure jealousy. Some people can't stand to see others succeed and will go to extreme lengths to tear you down. We came to Dubai for a business opportunity that could have changed our lives. But certain people decided to play games with our reservations and flights. Now we're stuck in this nightmare while our family probably laughs at our misfortune. At Marylindale, this is who you really are. Hope you're proud of yourself. Hashtag family betrayal, hashtag jealousy, hashtag blocked, hashtag true love, hashtag karma. The post had been up for 2 hours and already had over 100 comments. Mara scrolled through them, watching the narrative play out in real time. Most of Lila's followers were offering sympathy and outrage. OMG, who would do this? And family can be so toxic. And you don't deserve this queen. But there were other comments too, from people who knew both families or had been following the story more closely. Wait, didn't you post about using someone else's money for this trip? Why would she sabotage you unless you did something to her first? This sounds like there's more to the story. At Marylindale, girl, what's the tea? Mara took a screenshot of the post, then opened her own Instagram account. She'd never been much for social media, preferring to keep her life private, but desperate times called for public measures. She selected the best photo from her afternoon on the terrace herself in the infinity pool with the Dubai skyline behind her, champagne glass in hand, looking relaxed and genuinely happy. She'd taken it as a personal memento, but now it would serve a different purpose. The caption took her several drafts to get right. Enjoying my vacation in Dubai. Nothing like reclaiming your stolen money and using it for its intended purpose, rest and relaxation. To those who think family should enable theft and call it helping, watch this. Hashtag actual abundance, hashtag earn money, hashtag Dubai 2025, hashtag karmaworks, hashtag works for Beth. She tagged her location as the Meridian Palace Dubai and posted it. The response was immediate and explosive. Within minutes, her post had dozens of likes and comments. People who knew both families started connecting the dots. The story spread from her followers to theirs, creating a web of public accountability that neither Caleb nor Lila could control. YSSS, get your money back, girl. Wait, is this the same family that was bragging about their Dubai trip yesterday? So she stole their vacation after they stole her money? I'm living for this energy. This is what thieves deserve. Both posts are still up. I'm deceased. Her phone started ringing immediately. Caleb's name appeared on the screen. She answered on the 4th ring. You absolute fucking psychopath, he began without preamble. Do you have any idea what you've done? I've taken back what was mine, Mara said calmly, adjusting her position in the pool chair. How's your vacation going? Our vacation. You destroyed our vacation. We're stuck in some shithole motel with no way home because of your jealous bullshit. I'm confused, Caleb. I thought family was supposed to help each other out. Isn't that what you said when you stole my money? I didn't steal anything. I borrowed it. Without asking. Using information you got by breaking into my private documents. That's called theft. You're fucking insane, Mara. We're family. Family doesn't steal from each other and then brag about it on social media. We never bragged about stealing. You bragged about spending my money on your dream vacation. You posted photos of champagne and first-class seats, paid for with funds you took from my savings account. You told the entire internet that people who didn't support your abundance mindset were just jealous. Caleb was quiet for a moment. In the background, she could hear Lila crying or screaming. It was hard to tell which. Mara, please, he said finally, his voice smaller. We're sorry. We'll pay you back everything with interest. Just help us get home." "With what money, Caleb? You're broke. You were broke when you stole from me, and you're still broke now. The only difference is that now you're broke in Dubai instead of Phoenix. We'll figure something out. We'll get jobs, we'll borrow money from someone else, whatever it takes." "You mean you'll steal from someone else?" "That's not fair." "What's not fair is working 16 years to save money for a house and having your brother steal it for his wife's Instagram vacation." "Please," he said again. "We'll do anything. We'll delete the posts. We'll publicly apologize, whatever you want." Mara looked out at the Gulf, where the lights of passing boats twinkled like stars on the water. The infinity pool created perfect reflections of the city lights, and the champagne had left her feeling relaxed and powerful in a way she'd never experienced. "Here's what's going to happen," she said. "You're going to figure out how to get home on your own, the same way you figured out how to steal my money. You're going to pay me back every penny with interest and damages, and you're going to learn what it actually means to earn something instead of taking it." "Mara, I'm not finished. You made this public when you decided to brag about your theft on social media. You called me jealous and selfish for wanting my own money back. So now the whole world gets to see what happens when you mess with someone who's actually earned what they have. You're destroying our lives. I'm giving you the same consideration you gave me when you emptied my savings account. Think of it as helping family." She hung up and immediately blocked both their numbers. Her Instagram post had exploded while they were talking. Hundreds of likes, dozens of shares, and a comment thread that read like a real-time trial. People were posting screenshots of Lila's earlier bragging posts next to photos of their current accommodations. The contrast was devastating and public. Someone had created a hashtag. Field trip to Karma by morning. It was trending. Mara spent the next 3 days living the vacation Caleb and Lila had planned for themselves. She had spa treatments that cost more than her monthly car payment, ate at restaurants where the waiters wore tuxedos, and documented it all with the same meticulous attention to detail that Lila brought to her lifestyle content. But where Lila's posts were aspirational performance art, Mara's were evidence. Evidence that she could afford this luxury because she'd earned it. Evidence that the money being spent was hers by right. Evidence that justice sometimes looked like champagne and infinity pools and 5-star service. Shane joined her for dinner on her third night at a restaurant on the 40th floor of the Burj Al Arab. The view was spectacular, but she was more interested in his update on Caleb and Lila's situation. "They're still at the budget hotel," he reported over oysters that probably cost more than their room. "My contact says they've been trying to extend their stay day by day because they can't afford to book longer periods." "Any luck with flights home?" "None. They need about $16,000 for 2 tickets, and they don't have it. They've been calling family members back home, but apparently word has spread about what they did to you." "What do you mean?" "Your Instagram posts have been shared pretty widely. People in Phoenix are talking about it. Your mother apparently knows the whole story now." Mara felt a pang of sadness about her mother, but she pushed it aside. Eleanor would side with Caleb eventually, she always did, but at least now she couldn't claim ignorance about what her son had done. "There's something else," Shane continued. "They've been trying to contact the hotel directly, claiming you somehow hacked their reservation." "What did the hotel say?" "That they have clear records showing you paid for the reservation transfer 3 days before they arrived. It's all legitimate and documented." "Good. I want everything to be completely legal." "It is. What you did was aggressive and calculated, but it wasn't illegal. They stole your money, and you used it to cancel their vacation and take it for yourself. That's not hacking, that's justice." After dinner, they walked along the private beach behind the hotel. The sand was white and soft, and the water was warm enough for swimming, even at night. It was the kind of experience that belonged in travel magazines, the kind of luxury that Lila had been trying to manifest through positive thinking and theft. "Do you feel guilty at all?" Shane asked as they walked. Mara considered the question honestly. I feel guilty about enjoying this so much. But I don't feel guilty about what I did to them. They stole from you. They did more than steal. They betrayed me. They planned it carefully, executed it while I was at work, and then celebrated it publicly. They turned my savings into their Instagram content. And now you've turned their humiliation into yours. The difference is that my content is honest. I'm spending money I earned on a vacation I can afford. They were spending stolen money and lying about how they got it. Her phone buzzed with a notification from Instagram. Someone had tagged her in a new post, but this one wasn't from Caleb or Lila. It was from a travel blogger with 500,000 followers who had picked up the story. The Dubai Karma Chronicles. When family theft meets social media justice. This thread has everything. Stolen money, luxury hotels, and the most epic clapback I've ever seen. Full story in my highlights. Hashtag Dubai Karma, hashtag family drama, hashtag justice served. The post had thousands of likes and hundreds of comments. The story had spread far beyond their personal networks, becoming the kind of viral drama that defined social media. Caleb and Lila had wanted to build their brand through this vacation. They'd succeeded. Just not in the way they'd planned. And on her final morning in Dubai, Mara received an email from her bank's fraud department. The investigation into the wire transfer had been completed, and they determined that the transaction was fraudulent. The bank was reversing all fees associated with the theft and providing her with a detailed report that could be used in legal proceedings. More importantly, Cassidy's investigation had been successful. The airline had confirmed that Caleb and Lila's return tickets had been purchased with funds from the same fraudulent transfer. The tickets were officially canceled, and the refund of $8,247 was being returned to Mara's account. She had her money back, plus interest, plus damages, plus the most luxurious vacation of her life. But she wasn't done yet. The flight home was less enjoyable than the one to Dubai, partly because first class felt normal now, and partly because she knew what waited for her in Phoenix. Caleb and Lila were still stranded in Dubai, but they'd eventually find a way home. And when they did, she'd be ready for them. Her lawyer, Marcus Chin, met her at the airport with a stack of documents. "The civil complaint is ready for filing," he said as they walked toward baggage claim. "Theft, conversion, fraud, intentional infliction of emotional distress. We're asking for treble damages, plus attorney's fees." "How much are we talking about?" "Conservatively, 150,000. If we can prove they planned this theft in advance, which their social media posts suggest they did, the punitive damages could be much higher. And the criminal case? The prosecutor is interested. Your brother's recorded admission that he took the money, combined with evidence that he gained access to your security token through deception, makes for a strong theft case. He could be looking at felony charges." Mara nodded. She'd crossed a line somewhere between Dubai and Phoenix, moving from victim to prosecutor. The woman who'd been content to work double shifts and save every penny had been replaced by someone who understood the difference between justice and mercy. She chose justice. 3 weeks later, the constable arrived at Caleb's house with foreclosure papers. His truck had already been repossessed to satisfy the civil judgment, and now the house was going too. Lila's business accounts had been frozen and liquidated. Her inventory of essential oils and lifestyle coaching materials sold to pay legal fees. They'd eventually made it home from Dubai, flying standby on a discount airline after borrowing money from Lila's parents. The return had been documented on social media too, but not by them, by other passengers who recognized them from the viral story and took photos of them sleeping on airport floors and arguing with gate agents. The internet was forever, and so was their humiliation. Mara stood on the balcony of her new condo, bought with the restored savings and additional damages from the lawsuit. Below her, Phoenix glowed in the warm sunset, the city lights stretching to the mountains in every direction. She held a glass of wine, the expensive kind she'd learned to appreciate in Dubai, and felt utterly unbothered by the knowledge that her brother and his wife were somewhere in the city below, living with the consequences of their choices. Her mother had called twice since her return, both times asking if she would consider forgiving Caleb for the sake of family. Both times Mara had given the same answer. No. Some debts aren't about money. Eleanor had stopped calling after that Mara's phone buzzed with a text from Shane. Saw the news about the house. Justice is beautiful. When are you coming back to Dubai? She typed back, next year. I'm saving up for the royal suite. Because now she knew the difference between wanting something and earning it, between dreams and theft, between family and enablers, and she knew, with the certainty that came from 16 years of honest work and one perfect act of calculated revenge, that she would never be anyone's victim again. The city lights twinkled below her like diamonds scattered on black velvet, beautiful and distant and completely untroubled by the small human dramas playing out in the streets. Somewhere out there, Caleb was learning what it meant to face consequences. Somewhere out there, Lila was discovering that karma was more than a hashtag. And here, on her balcony with her wine and her view and her completely justified sense of satisfaction, Mara Lindell was finally living the abundant life she'd actually earned.